let's talk about why you wanted to become mayor and why you think it's important than ever for you to join the race.
As I said, I love this city, and it feels like we're standing still. And given a lifetime of volunteer work and commitment to the community, I actually feel compelled to run, to put my name forward in order to be part of what Regina looks like in the future.
You know, everyone's got their different reasons for why they think you're the right person to become the mayor moving forward, especially during a pandemic when things are a little uncertain at this time. So why do you think you're the right person going into this kind of future?
I think more than ever, communication, collaboration, and really hard work to make hard decisions are needed, and I've displayed those characteristics all my life.
Can you explain, just give us some examples of how you've been able to portray those characteristics?
I'll give you a personal one. I started university when my daughter was 1 year old as a single mother. I had 2 children while I was there, and got married and graduated university with 3 children in 5 years, and had one following that. And at the age of 30, was mother to 4 children and raised them as a single parent in this city, and managed to coach volleyball for 8 years, was PTA president, moved in, and had a career the entire time. So I think hopefully that would give you an indication that when I show up, I show up.
What's wrong with the status quo? Because there's another candidate who says now is the time for stability and continuity.
I actually think stability is a great thing, but growth may not come from stability. Growth comes from a direction being moved. We need a vision, we need a direction to move forward. That's how people get attracted. Energy begets energy. I actually think that what's been happening, especially as it relates to budgets and spending at the city, I think that has created a risky environment for some of our business community. And we depend upon our business community for tax contributions as well as employment for our citizens.
I have a question about your experience with Rio. So just to confirm, you are still serving your third term, or did you just complete that?
I just resigned, actually. I stepped down from the board of directors of the Regina Exhibition Association Limited.
Okay, sorry, just heard you listen
That's
to
okay.
the present tense, that's all. So tell me about that experience and why that fits in helping you as potentially becoming the next mayor.
I think actually what it taught me is that when you get in a room full of people who have a desire to make something better, which regardless of what anyone thinks of our city councilors, they all have a desire to make our city better. When you get in a room with people like that, the ability to build consensus and lead them toward a strategic vision or a strategic outcome, that's the experience I've garnered while I was there.
You mentioned in your remarks that everything can't be a priority. So what would you say are your top priorities and what gets dropped off to compensate for that?
I actually don't think I'm able to answer that question. I think that's a question that can only be answered once you're in the seat and once you have access to the information that is available from administration and from council.
And when you look at the way Regina has been moving for the last number of years, what do you think is holding the city back right now?
I think it's the lack of direction. I think it's the lack of understanding who it is we want to be. We need to define that and move towards that and spend with intention to get us there.
What issues do you really see Regina facing as we're coming out of this pandemic, this economic downturn, and why do you think you're the best person to lead through those issues?
I think I've made hard decisions all my life. I think I approach issues in a direct manner, in a logical and methodical manner, and with compassion. The pandemic has not affected all of us equally. Some of our most vulnerable citizens may be impacted as it relates to home and food security. But some of our businesses and our citizens that work in those businesses are still unemployed. So we should have a targeted approach and be able to make decisive, directed decisions as it relates to helping those individuals and those businesses out.
I wanted to revisit your comment about reconciliation and just how you would like to move forward with that first, pending the results in November.
I'm actually not going to answer that question because I stand here without Indigenous leaders with me, and I don't think it's appropriate. My heart and my mind are open to understand what their journey is and to help lead us forward on our journey together.
You also mentioned working with police on a number of community issues. Do you have a sense of where you would like to move with those community issues already, or is that going to come in consultation after the results have been run with it?
The underlying issues that Chief Bray has already highlighted, poverty, addiction, and mental health, I actually think the city requires a poverty reduction strategy. We don't have one as a city. That would be kind of one way that we could immediately out of the gates start to deal with that in conjunction with the other human service providers. But also it's that collaboration piece with the province. Health and education and social services are provincial jurisdictions. But if we can build a relationship to come up with innovative ways to deal with some of those things, which support our most vulnerable, but also support the police and perhaps ease their load in terms of having to deal with some of those issues.
So would that be like relying more on community organizations to take on some of that and alleviate police with those community?
I actually think that's one of the ways is working with the community organizations, and we have dozens of them that deal with some of those issues. They're provincially funded, the city provides a little bit of funding for them, but it's about bringing all of it together to coordinate it so that we're not wasting resources and we're able to target the ones most in need.
You mentioned property taxes and multi-year budgeting. How should the city handle the economic fallout from COVID-19 next year and beyond?
There are entire teams of people that need to answer that question. But as I said earlier, I think a targeted approach to those most affected needs to be undertaken. It's going to mean that it's going to be worked into the budget. I think COVID-19 is going to be it's going to be an issue for us for at least the next 2 years. And there's going to need to be some hard decisions made.
We've got time for two more.
I have one and then someone else. When it comes to the actual election, in the 2016 election, Regina saw a voter turnout of about 20.6%. How do you hope to get supporters or anyone in general to the polls on November 9th?
I would actually encourage you to look at our voting history. There's a pattern of valleys, mountains and valleys, and it's 30 to 20 to 30 to 20, and I'm counting on the 30. Or better, actually, would be fantastic.
Has it crossed your mind that if you win, you would be just the second woman to serve as mayor? I mean, there was one who was in an interim, as a mayor on an interim basis for 6 weeks. And
Doreen Hamilton in 1985 was appointed mayor when Mayor Larry Schneider resigned, and she was mayor of the city for 6 weeks. There's never been an elected female mayor. Has it crossed my mind? A little bit.